Hello from gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and this is a November garden update, but it's only going to be a short one because, as we all know, gardens in the temperate zone really don't look the best in winter. Now, as you can see, there are some structures that still look good. For example, the box balls, these are evergreen and their shape will persist through the winter, but my garden relies heavily on deciduous plants. So what we are here to enjoy today are the glorious autumn colours, because that's what we're focusing on. The garden, of course, goes a little bit to pot at this time of year. It's the time of year that many people absolutely love because of the glorious autumn colours as the sugars rise in the trees, giving those gorgeous oranges and reds. But mostly us gardeners, we don't like autumn at all. And before you start screaming out, yes, I can appreciate these glorious colours on the Liquidambar tree. It is lovely. But that's not the point. The point is what happens underneath the high canopy of the trees. I guess the trick in autumn is to look up, because if we look down, then the story is quite different. And down here, you can see underneath the tree, there's a whole carpet of leaves that have decided to come down and just, well, carpet the whole area. We have some autumn crocuses just gone over here. And we've certainly missed them. I think we have one here that is actually still standing up. And of course, when the sunshine hits the leaves, it does kind of brighten things up a little bit. But as I said, we're not going to focus on the understory. We're going to go up high and look at the colours. So let's do just that and head up high. High, high, high. The cherry blossom tree is perhaps one of my favourite autumn trees, and it's just such a good all-rounder because you of course have the glorious, glorious flowers in spring, and then it kind of does nothing for many months, but it comes into its own again at this time of year. Now you see all those yellow leaves, yellowy orange leaves just sitting there. Well, any day now I'll come down in the morning and I look out and they'll all have gone whoomp down onto the ground. We have sorbus trees looking really well at the moment. Now if I have the species name for this one, I'll put it up. Here's a close-up of those leaves, and as with most autumn leaves, they look gorgeous from a distance from high up, but when you get in close then you begin to see the imperfections. Across from the sorbus we have the chestnut, horse chestnut tree, which again, quite pretty, quite attractive from a distance, but there you see how if you go in you can see that the decay has set in. And it's just part of the natural course of life, the natural turn of the seasons, and nothing we need worry about, but it is a bit depressing. Over here we have the Rhus that is just losing its leaves now at this stage, but it is a glorious, shocking yellow. And beside it we have the I want to say sarsaparilla, but I think I got it wrong before. But it's a lovely tree and it has glorious autumn colour, which isn't quite showing yet. So I guess we need another couple of weeks. But this tree is just super because the leaves, the shape of the leaves are not uniform. So this one here, you can see it's got a little thumb there like a fig. And we have other ones here who have just ordinary normal leaves. But this will take on a glorious, glorious colour of yellow very shortly. The oak-leafed hydrangea is taking on very nice bronzy, coppery tones at the moment. And actually this makes quite an attractive mass in here underneath the Tetrapanax. And Tetrapanax, of course, is completely evergreen, so that'll persist through the winter, unless, of course, we get a particularly hard winter, and then in that instance it'll just lose its leaves and be bare, but let's hope not. Japanese acers, of course, come into their own at this time of year, some of them anyway, and this one is no exception. So it's quite a luminous red here. Now this is a deciduous tree. In fact, it's only the deciduous trees that make this glorious autumn colour. So before very long this is going to drop all its leaves, but for the moment it looks amazing. And it probably looks more amazing because it's flanked by the ligularia that has turned completely black from the first frosts. So it kind of shows off the Acer just that bit better. And as we continue on our autumn stroll through Douentza Garden, I want to point out to you perhaps one of my favourite trees, which is this one here, known as Persica, or the iron tree. And it has this beautiful, beautiful autumn colour. Look how yellow it is, a real rich, deep, buttery yellow. And there are just tinges of red at the edge of some of the leaves. Not all of them, just some of them. But it really makes an attractive view. And this tree, of course, is just outside the house. So when I look out the window, I see it in all its glory. And it is really, really nice thing to have. The iron tree, of course, needs acid soil to colour up well. And it's a funny story because I bought this tree and put it down and had it for several years without it ever taking on any autumn colour. So whether it was in a pocket of soil that wasn't completely acid, or whether it just needed that bit of extra time to acclimatise, I really don't know. But I'd started to ask experts whether this was a normal kind of state of affairs for the tree. But then suddenly, there it was. And it was doing its autumn colour thing just regularly from then on in. Glorious, beautiful tree. So as a gardener, there are several ways to approach the garden in autumn. And one is to work manically, lifting leaves and clearing things and cutting back as things look the worst for wear, and just like keep going. But the only thing you're going to achieve is to make the garden look a bit neat. Whereas what I've chosen, and I've done that on many years, for many years, but this year I've just taken the approach of just letting it go, let it do what it wants to do, and in spring I'll come back with renewed energy and tackle everything that needs to be tackled. And so with that in mind, I'm enjoying the leaves, enjoying them now before they turn black and sludgy and attract lots of slugs. Hostas, of course, which are these ones here, have glorious autumn colour. Just going over now, and here we have the leaves decaying into the smaller leaves of the Acer. And now we're standing in front of the greenhouse, looking at the copper beech hedge, which has taken on its amazing autumn colour. Now just look at that. And that really is one of the amazing things about beech hedging, and I would recommend it just for the autumn colour alone, because it really is spectacular. Now I don't like the way the hedging holds on to the dead leaves through winter. That's a personal taste, but in autumn it really is spectacular. And just beyond the beech hedging here, we have a couple of things looking quite well. We have the Euonymus, which has this shrimp-like autumn colour. Look at that. That branch there is a bit better. Very pink. And the Euonymus looks all the better as it's contrasted with this kind of black corky bark that it has. Look at this. It's it's got 4 corners, and the pink looks really great against that. And over here we have this fossil tree, Chinese tree I think it comes from China. And this is such a great one for leaf shape because the leaves are such an unusual shape. And a great thing, of course, to do if you have kids or grandkids this time of year is take them around the garden and get them to collect as many different types of leaves as they can, and then see which ones they can name. And this one is always one to try out because the leaf shape is so unusual and attractive. Such a nice butter yellow colour as well. Here are some really good leaves in here. Yeah, super thing. And of course it's flanked by the Viburnum. And this Viburnum here is an evergreen one. So it has these kind of very harsh, wrinkled leaves and this white underside. So quite an attractive plant. And we get some yellowing, as you can see here, on the leaves, and I guess those will fall soon, but it's a nice plant to have. And now we have come over to the other side of the garden, the west side of the garden, where we have some autumn colour, and I'll just share it very briefly with you. And now we've moved over to the west side of the garden, where we have some more beech columns looking really well. But the real reason I brought you up here was just to give you a final look at the persicaria and show you what it's doing now. As you can see, the pink is gone. It is kind of a darky purple, and from a distance it doesn't look half bad. It's just, again, as you get in close, then you see the imperfections and the decay that's setting in. A nice story behind this is that there is a very special young lady called Anna who comes into my garden in autumn some mornings with her mother to pick persicaria from the bank because she loves the pale pink forms. And up until very recently we had a lot of the pale pink flowers on the persicaria, but just a couple of days ago she was in and they had to say that this would be the last visit for the season because the persicaria has finished producing the pink flowers and she just isn't so interested in these dark red ones. I mean, they do look a bit tired, in fairness. So it was sad to say goodbye to Anna for the year. And over here we have another sorbus tree, but this one has very interesting berries. Now it's a bit difficult for you to see because, whoops, I'm standing on things that break because of the light, but you see those there? And I hope they'll provide nourishment for the birds during the harsh months. It's actually covered in the berries now, and even though this one has lost its leaves, the berries have persisted, so that's kind of nice. And over here we get a glimpse of my beech hedging, copper beech and green beech hedging, alternate colours, but you can't see any of that now because of course both have turned into this glorious autumn orange and yellow. This Euonymus tree has some very interesting berries. Now this is actually my neighbour's plant, but you see this kind of orange and red to them, and it's got very good leaf colour too, so I guess that's a bonus. And just above it here is the big cherry blossom down at the entrance to the garden, and it is covered in glorious orangey yellow leaves at the moment, which will drop any day now. I'll come home one day and the tree will have undressed on the ground below. And I remember when my son was little, one time we went out for a drive, and as we came back the first thing we saw was this naked tree just at the entrance to the garden and all the leaves on the ground, and he said, "Who did that?" Well, the answer is autumn. The big leveller. Okay, so we're down at the entrance to the garden here, where my beech hedging is looking really quite good. And I guess that brings us to the end of this autumn/November garden tour of Douentza, which I hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed looking up, and if you're thinking of taking a look around your garden, make sure to look up. And if you're really not a gardener yourself, then get out and enjoy all the glorious autumn colours, because you really will enjoy them if you don't have to deal with the mess and the problems that lie underneath. It's, I guess, just one of the downsides of gardening. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you will check back soon for lots more. Bye for now.